cool story that I thought I would share with you guys. I was reading Guidepost, and when Don came up with the story, this thought of this story, I had actually read this Guidepost story that morning, and it was actually this young man and his wife they were going to celebrate their very first Christmas together. They had gotten married that year, and just before Christmas, his wife ended up, her appendix got inflamed, and she had to have emergency surgery. Well, it turned out that she wasn't going to be home for Christmas that year, which it was kind of a twofold thing. Not only was it their first Christmas together, but it was also her birthday. So she was going to be stuck in the hospital on her birthday and at Christmas time. And so he decided that, each night, I guess I better go there, each night there was a nurse that he called his nemesis that would work the night shift. And so 9 o'clock every night she would come in and make him go home. And he said he would go home and he would sit in his house and he would stare at this lonely, pathetic Christmas tree, and he would just sit there alone wondering how this was going to take place. And he knew that his wife was going to end up there alone on her birthday and on Christmas, and he just couldn't stand the thought. So he came up with this idea. He was a school teacher, and he happened to have a Santa Claus outfit that he used for a school play the year before. And so he came up with this brilliant idea that he would be Santa Claus and sneak back into the hospital. What could go wrong with that, right? So he dresses up as Santa Claus, and he said he had to sneak up a couple stories to get up to the surgical wing. So he decided he's going to take the stairs because the elevator would ding whenever he'd come up. So he crept up the staircase, and as he gets all the way up to the surgical wing, and he just knows he finally made it, he said all of a sudden a bright light came on, and he hears a voice behind the light. "What do you think you're doing?" And as the light moved out of his eyes, he realized he was facing a security guard. Yeah, didn't sneak in as quietly as he thought he would. So as he's standing there and he's in the light, and he's like, well, now he's feeling kind of foolish. He's Santa Claus in the staircase, and he's not sure what to say. And he said, well, it's Christmas Eve. What do you think I'm doing? And he said, well, then I guess you're late. And he said, come on. And he takes him into the surgical wing, and he said as he walks in, he sees his nemesis, and he knows that she's going to kick him out. So he's standing there, and he's looking at his nemesis, and he's like, great, here goes. And she said, well, now that you're here, I was wondering how I was going to deliver all these gifts. So how about you do it? You're already dressed. So why didn't you come on in and deliver all these gifts? And she had bought every single person on the hospital floor a gift, and it was sitting on a cart. So the very first room that they went to is his wife's room, and to her surprise, she realized who it was, and she was excited, and she got up, and they put her in a wheelchair, and he got to push her around as they went room to room. Each room he would walk into, and he would creep up next to the bed. Well, I guess creep's not the good word to use for it. He would sneak up as Santa Claus does next to the bed, and he would place a gift next to the bed rail, so that each person, when they awoke the next morning, the first thing that they would see is they would see this Christmas gift that was there for them. Well, as he's going along, he said at first when he walked in there feeling all foolish, that he realized he was actually there as a representative of Santa Claus, that he had that Christmas spirit. And as he's going along, he started feeling more and more doing the good thing and having that Christmas spirit. So he gets down to the very last room, and a nurse decides that this person, she kind of had to give him a backstory on. It's about a 9-year-old boy, and he's laying there, and his head's all bandaged up, and she said, now you're about to walk in, and Tommy's in his room. Now, he's been in a bad accident. He's banged up. But the worst thing is that his dad passed away in a car accident that they were in. And his mom, she's in a coma right across from your wife's room. So he said he walks in, and he sneaks up to the bed, and he has this little stuffed bear, and he goes to set it next to the bed, and Tommy's laying there stiff as a board, and all of a sudden he opens his eyes and he looks directly at Santa. And he said, Santa, I want to ask you a question. I said, well, Tommy, go ahead. And he said, well, Santa, I want to make a wish. Do you grant wishes? And he said, well, Tommy, I don't know if my elves can get everything together this close to Christmas, so I'm not sure what your wish is, but why don't you go ahead and you tell me, and then we'll see what we can do. And he said, well, Santa, it's not, I don't want any toys. He said, that's not what I want for Christmas at all. He said, I want my mom to wake up. And at this, Santa doesn't know what to say. What does he say? So he's sitting there and he looks out and he sees this big, beautiful tree outside of the hospital window. This tree has all the trimmings on it, has ornaments all over it. Somebody in the hospital staff has decorated this tree, and they put a great big star on the top of that tree. Well, when the boy's looking out, he says, you see that star? And he said, yeah. He said, well, Santa can't really do wishes. He said, but I want to tell you a story. There was a night a long, long time ago when a babe was born in a manger. And there was a bright star that shone over that manger. And see, that baby wasn't just an ordinary baby, but it was God came to earth on that Christmas day. And that's why we celebrate Christmas. That star that shone so bright, it showed that all the wise men and everybody that was searching for Jesus could find Jesus laying in a manger that day. See, it's not Santa Claus that you should bring your wishes and your hopes and your prayers to, but you should take them to Jesus Christ. And so Tommy said, you know what? That's exactly what I'll do. I'll take it to Jesus Christ. And he said, thank you, Santa. And he closed his eyes, and Santa left the room. Of course, he went home that night, and the next day he got up, and he was all ready to go see his wife, and he was able to go in and see her. But he goes in, and he wishes her a happy birthday and a Merry Christmas, and they were able to celebrate a little Christmas right there. And as he's standing there, his nemesis walks in. And she said, I talked to the doctor, and your wife's going home today. So you get to take her home. So if you can step outside of the room so we can get her ready, you can just take her home and you can celebrate Christmas together. And he was overjoyed, and he walks out the door and he looks across the hallway, and there's somebody making Tommy's mom's bed. She's gone. And right there his heart drops, and he said, I can't believe I got this boy's hopes up. I can't believe that I went in and told him all this stuff, and now she's gone. But he couldn't just leave, so he snuck down to Tommy's room to see how he was doing. And as he pokes his head in the door, he sees Tommy's mom sitting up next to the bed holding the little stuffed teddy bear. And as she's holding that teddy bear, Tommy's telling her about Santa Claus that came, and of the story of Jesus Christ and how he went to Jesus with his prayers and his thoughts and his hopes, and that his Christmas wishes were answered.